Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are starting a brand new podcast of our slice of gaming variety called Meal Prep. This is a podcast where we're going to analyze and look at any game footage for games that are coming up soon that we're very excited about, do a big deep dive and whatnot. Joining me today, I got my co host, Dark,
Hey, how's it going?
and we also have joining us yet again, BenjiBop.
Hey, I'm still not Phil Spencer.
Thank God. I am not ready to interview Phil Spencer.
Hey, I know how to do a reoccurring bit multiple times.
They don't know about that. Okay.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I get that feeling, a deja vu.
If you want, I guess I'm gonna hand it over to Benji to really go over like a lot of the details today. Let me restart. We are doing a big deep dive on the Starfield Direct. Obviously, you see Todd Howard on your screen right now. We're really excited about Starfield, and we really wanted to do a big deep dive, full analysis on everything there. I guess just real quick, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Audible, Amazon, and Pocket Casts. Anywhere you want your podcast app, we got you. And Benji, I know you watched both the Kind of Funny Xcast for the Todd Howard, and there was also an interview as well. Do you think you could go over those details that you found out about them?
Sure. Yeah. So Todd we're recording this uh 10 days after the initial direct.
Yeah, almost a
Uh,
week and a half.
Yeah, and luckily we now have the element of hindsight, and Todd Howard has done multiple interviews, both with Kind of Funny's Xcast and then IGN with Ryan McCaffrey. And I figured it might be good to go over the details he mentions there now, because that might help give us additional context while we're watching this. So starting with the Kind of Funny Xcast, since that was the more recent one, some things he went over. Large font mode, which is just more like an accessibility thing, but obviously great. And he also kind of hinted at handhelds, but didn't say if it was Steam Deck verified, which honestly it shouldn't be.
it's not gonna be. I'm just
Yeah,
gonna say that right
that's
now.
You
There's
don't
no
want
way
a
in hell
hand
that
grenade?
game's running.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think you could, and even then, and like I wonder how like xCloud streaming is going to be, but that's an entirely different subject. So large font mode for accessibility, that was like the one major accessibility feature he touched on. There will be no fishing, but I would imagine it will be modded into the game in roughly 2 weeks, maybe
Already
10
hard for
2
days.
days.
Yeah,
Yeah, 2 days.
modders
Okay.
are going to be on that very fast, and then
I
the Starfield Anniversary Edition will come out.
I want to actually touch on that. How he said no fishing. What I loved about that interview, and honestly, just like the pre-release in general for Starfield, is Todd is explicitly telling us what is in the game and what isn't. And you kind of saw this issue very much with Cyberpunk, and you saw this issue with even a long time ago with No Man's Sky. The issue that came with both of those games is that they would be over-promising, telling us like kind of basically dodging questions and saying like, "Oh, maybe in the game, we don't know yet." I love how it's Starfield, Todd is saying, no, there's just zero fishing in this game. That is not something. And also something that's going to be brought up later about rovers as well. Like, no, not in the game. And I love that. I think that is the move. You have to tell us what's in, what isn't. If just tell us straight out what isn't in the game. That way we're not disappointed.
Yeah, definitely setting expectations is nice so that you don't let people's imaginations run wild like mine did with both No Man's Sky and Cyberpunk. So yes, definitely a good point there. Going on, he talks about the kind of procedural content in the game. This will also be touched on in the IGN interview, but in the XCast interview, he had mentioned that outside of major cities, the system used pull from a suite of content that is handcrafted and chooses to place it or not to place it on different planets when you land. Many places will bear in one facet or another, with Howard noting that only around 10% of planets have alien life, meaning roughly 100 out of the promised 1,000 worlds to explore.
I, I,
Yeah, go ahead.
that was a really interesting point. A lot of people on Twitter really hung on to that point specifically. It's like, what? Only 10% will have life? I feel like people need to understand it's like this is actually like way more than probably our own galaxy. Is that I would bet like we only have like 2 planets with actual alien life in
Yo,
comparison to
100
how
planets in general is
yeah, that's
fucking
a
neat as
hundred
shit.
a hundred planets with alien life. Like of course, there's going to be a lot of barren planets, but I know Jeff Grubb tweeted this out. It's like you don't have to explore those planets if you
Right.
don't want to. It's just as simple as that. It's at the end of the day, it's set dressing, but on a planetary scale, and I love that.
Well, even then, the first, I mean, I will talk about this ad nauseum, but I am the guy that will explore the barren moon that has no
Oh,
resources, has no life, literally nothing there. I am still going to cover that entire map.
You know
right
the
there with you.
funny thing with Bethesda games especially, those barren planets are probably gonna have like deep mysteries tied to them. They're gonna be
Right.
like they're probably gonna be more interesting to explore, I feel like, possibly, than planets with life and all the other stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where 5 years down the road, we're gonna find an Easter egg on one of these that hasn't been
Oh yeah.
found yet, and be like, "Wow, how did they, incorporate that from such an early on design?"
And that's just the
But
thing with this game in general. It's just the scale. Like we were so blown away with Skyrim in 2011, and now like 10 years away, like later, they're doing it again with Starfield. It's kind of crazy to think about.
yeah, I think that's a good point too. We keep talking about even here 100 planets with life, or maybe the Goldilocks planets, 1,000 planets overall. When's the last game you've played with 1,000 levels? And not to
True.
say that they're all, obviously procedural generation is going to be a big thing, and only 100 of those may be actually worth exploring. But even then, like that's the mindset we have to kind of be in, where it's like I don't remember the last, like, if I were to put, using Overwatch 2 as an example, because that's the multiplayer game I play the most.
How dare you, bro?
Okay, no, sorry. Listen, just let
Let him
me make
spit.
this
Let him
point. Let me
spit.
make this point. I don't know how long uh like my last 1,000 matches took. Like, are we like I would have to go and see, but I would imagine it spans over a year.
Oh,
Like 1,000 games played, like 15 minutes per planet. Like, the scale of this is just massive.
and we
Um,
saw they're very much like planet-sized planets, or like as planet-sized as you can get in a game. Like these are big planets, so we're gonna have a lot to explore for one planet, let alone 100. So like, hon- I feel like a lot of people are really conflating that point with 10% of planets have life as, oh, it's only 10% of the content. It's like, no, that's not what he meant.
right. Also, I just did the math. Because now I was thinking about it. If you spend 15 minutes at each planet, and obviously you're going to spend more at, New Atlantis and some
Oh
other
yeah,
main ones, but if you were to spend only 15 minutes at each planet, that would still take you 250 hours.
So
So
imagine when we spend hundreds of hours, like we do in the other
oh,
Bethesda titles, per planet.
it's
and
just,
this is all before expansions and stuff. Like it's
yeah.
insane.
No, well, you would have to imagine they're just going to put the expansions on the barren planets, right? Like,
Just say that now, and then they gotta come out and be like expansion number 3, new galaxy. Like,
jeez,
Like
yeah.
just here's another 1,000. It's like Jesus Christ,
I'm
boys.
here for it. I'm here for it. This is what's
Right
gonna,
there.
keep my Game Pass subscription, even though I bought it on Steam. So, anyways, moving on though, because we do have to move on.
Yeah, of
Speaking
course.
of planets, real quick, just to touch on them. There can be singular or multiple biomes on a planet, so we could have a fully ice planet, but maybe another one there's like more tropical, and then a desert, and kind of more variety. So I kind of want to keep an eye out for that specifically, that kind of detail, while we go through this and see if there are, if we spot one with some of this biome diversity, or maybe allude to it. Um, this kind of goes back into the what we just talked about, major monetary rewards for fully surveying a planet. I heard him say this and thought,
Interesting.
I'm going to be so rich because I am the person who will be exploring these barren planets. You're telling me I'm going to get paid to do the thing I was already going to do that not a lot of people are going to be doing? Yeah, I'm a millionaire. Like, just calling it
Yeah,
right now.
and like that's the big thing is like what can you use that money for? Obviously, we've seen like you can buy ships, but like what else can we do with that money? It's exciting to get the possibilities running through your head.
It
another
it def.
thing.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I remember cutting you off, but another thing I want to dive into that. With so many different planets, is it possible that each planet will have its own currency? and you can buy unique things on each planet. I'm not sure if they'll do that just to keep things simple or not. But it is something to think about.
Yeah, I would probably err on the side of no, because that might get a little too almost like Star Citizen complicated, where they do want to kind of keep things simple. But I mean, I also wouldn't be surprised. Maybe there are just like a few, like maybe it's like a very strict currency, where it only works for certain things and you can only buy certain things, but it's still doable. My last point though on the surveying with money, this honestly reminds me of, weirdly enough, another weird out there reference, Pokemon Legends Arceus, where it was the first Pokemon game you were actually incentivized to capture multiple Pokemon, study them, because the professor didn't know, like the people didn't know about Pokemon. And I feel like it's the same thing here, where you're incentivizing for finding all of these things, and you're helping your constellation or whoever, the surveyors, the geologists, the scientists, know more about our galaxy, which I love when NASA comes out with stuff like that, and I get to be that person in this game. That sounds awesome.
Right there with
NASA
you.
simulator, let's go.
I mean, hey, they literally called it. I mean, we'll get into it when we get to the analysis, but NASA Punk in general is the style of this game, and I love that.
Oh yeah. Moving on, this one's a bit of a bummer. No land vehicles or riding on animals. Yeah, I mean, this is. Huh?
I didn't know about the second one. I only knew about the land vehicles. Damn.
I may be inferring. Maybe I listened to it incorrectly. It was early in the morning on my way to work, and I hadn't had coffee yet. But I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it was Mike who asked the question. Snow Mike, and he can be a little bit goofy sometimes. And I think it was just, is there going to be a way to traverse the planet when you're on it faster? And Todd, like you said, Wolf, Todd did outright say no. And he, weirdly enough, the one thing he did mention here was the booster pack. Your jetpack. I'm pretty sure he referred to it as a boost pack. It almost is like, is there, and maybe that's something we can maybe find in this video, is like, is there going to be a dash? Is there going to be like some sort of horizontal fast movement with the jetpack as much as there could be vertical? Is that something you could control? He didn't really go into detail, and I could totally be off base, but I think that is something worth considering since he mentioned it.
Yeah, touching on this.
Just real quick, I bet it's something it's on your feet, and you just like run really fast, something like that.
Sure. Yeah.
Go for it, Dirk.
Yeah, so touching on this, I don't mind this whatsoever, given like the absolute sheer scale of this game. But another thing too is like a lot of these different planets, if they're vastly different, right? If they're all not just like a forest, let's say, vehicles wouldn't always make sense. Sometimes though, it makes sense for you to be on foot, navigating through the crevices of whatever terrain you're on. Maybe it's all water, and you're like on top of floating platforms. It can work. I don't think it's like a make or break situation for the game personally.
I also,
yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, I look up some articles on it. What I see is that he only really said like there's no land vehicles. I don't think there was confirmation about like riding animals. But again, like you said, inferring like maybe that he very much inferred that as well.
Yeah, and I think Dark does make a good point, and that's kind of where I'm at too, where like people still like Death Stranding, even though in the original game you pretty much am walking the whole time. You don't really get the vehicles. Any called exploring some of these planets a Zen-like experience, and I think that is more so what I'm in tune with. Anyways, I'm not trying to maybe rush through these. Like, I do want to go and find the small details and really, really explore what they have, but at the same time, I have it on Steam, and within the first couple of months, someone will mod in a Mars or moon rover, from the Apollo missions, and it's gonna be fine anyways. So for me, it's almost like for some of these things, it's like, well, the modders got me, so it's fine.
Not even that,
Well,
like just other Bethesda titles in general. There is no, at least to my knowledge. Like I feel like I played a majority of Bethesda titles, but at least to my knowledge, there really is no vehicles. Most of it's on foot to really give you a
and there's
sense
the
of the
horses.
scale.
I'm gonna
I mean,
say the
there's
horse, yeah.
horses, but like even like if you look at Fallout, and they don't really have anything like that.
Mm,
And you know
I will.
what? If they are, yeah, maybe the fact that he didn't confirm riding aliens, maybe keep the door open if they've already had the horse riding in Fallout, right? It was Fallout that had horse riding.
It
No,
was
no, no.
Elder Scrolls. Fallout
Skyrim.
doesn't have anything.
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought. Wow, I totally got this flipped.
A
Um,
horse in Fallout? Wait, hang on. What game are you
no,
playing?
It
I don't.
survived.
You're playing too many mods, dog.
Yeah, probably. Honestly, I think I was just thinking of dog meat. I was like, yeah, that's 4 legs. No, yeah, maybe the fact that horse riding is existing, maybe that's something they could do. It just won't be for everyone, but yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting point. Moving on, real quick, talking about companions. Only the 4 main constellation crew can be romanced. This one's
Ooh.
definitely a bummer for like the hardcore RPG fans, knowing that you're kind of limited to start. I personally am not not too invested in romancing characters, so I don't personally mind. But Wolf,
That's
you had a visceral
That's
reaction, so
extremely disappointing for me. I was a big fan of romance in like Fallout and Elder Scrolls. You know, I had a wife in Skyrim. I romanced Piper in Fallout 4. Like it's like you said, it's not like core to the experience, but you know, it adds to that role playing element. I love role playing in these games. You know, just getting really invested, creating a character, almost creating like a backstory just for them. But like, yeah, sure, it doesn't matter. Like, I could just play the game like by myself without these backstory and extra quirks, but it just adds to my personal enjoyment of the experience. And also, just in general, like 4 people you can romance. It's like I I don't want to say Starfield's gonna be like this. I'm gonna immediately say that, but it's like it gives me kind of cyberpunk flashbacks where it's like you could only romance like 2 people. The
right.
difference, like I stated earlier, Todd said it outright right now. There are only 4 romances. That's like good. Just tell us now so that we don't get disappointed later.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
no,
don't
definitely.
really have any issue. I mean, I like my romance in games as much as anyone else, especially as a big fan of Fire Emblem. But if the quality of these characters is, pretty good, like I suspect that they're gonna be, I don't have an
In
issue with it whatsoever. Especially
the
with
main
them adding like
constellation,
DLCs and stuff, they can always add more.
exactly. Yeah, that's the big thing. The DLC is gonna add more. And like, yeah, the main constellation crew. It's like they're not, they're not that bad. I'm fine romancing them.
I know for me, in the Outer Worlds, like I know everyone loves Pavarti in that game, but for me, I always love Sam. Sam is the funniest character in that game. I don't know if either of you
I think
played.
I remember
Uh,
I have. It's been so long that like
he's
I played it.
I don't
Yeah.
remember much. He
he's the
sounds
robot.
familiar.
He's the robot that cleans the ship, and you find him in like the
Oh
closet.
yeah.
And he is so funny. So that's why I feel like honestly, this next point is kind of more what I'm interested in because like I have the Vasco statue. I pre-ordered it.
Okay, I get you.
So I am all in on Vasco. I already have laid my claim. I put my flag in the ground. Like Vasco is going to be my boy. And Todd had mentioned that you can technically, keyword here is technically, have a crew comprised of all robots. The fact that because when he first answered this, he kind of hesitated. He kind of shook his head, kind of looked around. So it to me kind of makes it feel like there's either not a lot of robots or there's not a lot of robot or like people you can add to your crew, or really the first thought I went to is you can technically have a 2-man crew on your ship where it's just you and Vasco, and technically that is a crew of robots.
Honestly, that's a crew for the ages. I'd love just a 2-man crew fighting across the galaxy, just me and my robot buddy.
I'm with you. Okay, and then he had mentioned, and honestly, I just put this in here because I echo these sentiments. Einon Zur appreciation, goated composer, music definitely plays a major role in this game. And I've listened to that 10-minute Starfield suite on YouTube so many times already. So, shout out to Einon Zur. I know he's gonna put in another banger, and I can't wait to hear it.
Bethesda soundtracks are like my favorite soundtracks of all time, so I know this is going to be a banger.
Real quick, stolen ships must be registered to customize. And then this is me speculating, and maybe to use more than once, because it's like, the reason I say that is because he then goes on to say that they don't want to ruin the economy. So you can't just steal a ship, add to your inventory, customize it, and do stuff. It kind of sounds like, okay, if you steal it, once you do something with one of your main ships, or once it kind of leaves your primary, like the last ship you use, I would imagine it's gone.
Do you
So
think so?
yeah,
That's
because he
just like,
did.
oh, you
Sorry,
go.
go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say with the ship customization, I would imagine that the team wants people to make as many, or have fun with making ships. So it would make sense if you'd be able to save them.
Well, in the fact that he mentions, because you have to register a ship to customize it,
Mhm.
and the registration takes. I mean, I don't think he mentioned how much money it is, but it will cost money, and so it would make sense that you also have to register it to be able to store it, because while I think if you do find a ship that you really like off the get-go and you want it and you have the money for it, I think that's fine. But I think if we're able to hoard ships from an early point and you already have a fleet available, I feel like that kind of breaks the game in a sense, that you just have all these ships, even if you can't customize it, you just have all these ships, just because you started pirating from an early point. But that's just me.
Yeah, they definitely want to avoid a situation where like you just amass this fleet of ships and to a point where the game would start crashing and bugging out. Like I feel like they want to avoid that.
I mean, it's funny that he mentioned the economy because if we're able to, to sell these ships, what's stopping us from just like stealing it and then immediately selling it for a profit?
Boredom.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like, can you only sell registered ships? And I'll kind of jump ahead. He did talk about. Actually, I didn't put it in here. Oh no, I did. He did talk. Mike asked him about the scene we will see here in the video, about how when he went to New Atlantis, they scanned the ship for contraband. It if and Todd's answer was, you have to wait and see what happens if you do have contraband. So the
Oh,
fact
this
that
man.
they're punishing, smuggling, I can't imagine they'd be okay with selling a ship that you don't have registered. And maybe that's an assumption too far, but that's kind of where I'm going with the whole like stealing a ship and then just selling it immediately.
Oh yeah, I know
My
where you were going to, but like, wouldn't I don't imagine registering a ship costs more than the ship itself. It always feels like you're gonna have to be making a profit.
my
Sure.
my my theory is that like if it comes to stolen ships and contraband, you can't go on New Atlantis, but I bet there's like another like kind of like lawless place that like you could
That's
sell
true.
those type of stuff.
That's a very good point. And then last thing on ships, hardcore customization seems to be limited to more late game, and that's kind of interesting, because I know, if I remember and we'll see it once we get to the part in the video. But I want to say there was like a basic ship customization thing, and then there was like the more really complex, like, your not psychoanalyzing, but really just picking the minutia in the ships, like down to a very small level, and maybe that's the stuff that's more limited to late game. And he said late game because it's expensive, not because it's locked, but because it's expensive. Um, so yeah, my only thing, that is a weird comment in my opinion. So I hope, I wrote down here, I hope us early game broke boys can still, make some fun stuff, and we're not kind of left with some cookie cutter stuff and can't and have to really get into the game to make something we really want to fly.
I feel like we'll have a lot of like customization with the ships even early game. I think he more so means for like kind of like the big like heavy fleets, like something you would see out of like a Star Trek, like these gigantic like Enterprise-esque ships. He's saying that's like endgame. That's kind of what I assume.
Yeah, and obviously that makes sense. Let's see. Last two comments here from the XCast interview. He mentioned Creation Engine 2 and says, quote, "We're simulating people, spaceships, planets. Our lighting model is just awesome with the real-time global illumination. Our quest system, I think what really makes ours different is all these quests are running. It's not like you start a mission and we shut everything down." Yeah, I think just broadly speaking, Creation Engine 2 sounds like such an upgrade from this
Oh, yeah.
team, even though we don't always see those benefits. You know, obviously the uh, talking to other characters or NPCs, they still have that straight spine, kind of almost emotionless, not totally emotionless, but you know that
Staring into your
classic,
soul.
yeah, that
Yeah.
classic Bethesda, you know, talking to somebody. But it definitely sounds like, you know, this new engine is a monster. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, no, I mean, like this engine in general, like I feel like there was a lot of people really scared about it. It's like, oh, they're still using Creation Engine. It's like, guys, they can upgrade their engines, and very much seems like this is the situation here where they are upgrading their engine and really showcasing the capabilities of how versatile Creation Engine is. Like that's why they didn't change. People, I feel like a lot of people that don't understand how engines work are just like, oh, just upgrade to like make a brand new engine. Why are you still using Creation Engine? It's like Creation Engine has been improved and like is very much useful for modders. All these people, throughout the years, and it's like right now we're seeing the capabilities of why this engine works with Starfield.
Not
Yeah.
even that, just familiarity with it. Like they've been working with this for so long at this point. It's like
Yeah, they
they're
know
finally getting to spread their wings.
exactly.
Yeah. And then final comment here, I believe it was Mike again at the end, just real quick was like, black holes, are they in the
Oh,
game? And he said no comment.
they're in the game.
So it's like,
No
yeah,
comments an
okay,
answer and a half.
yeah,
Yeah, like
but
he outright said no fishing, but then black holes, like you wouldn't like say no comment and then it's just not in the game. Like, oh, okay, thanks,
right.
Todd.
And
But it's a story mission.
sure, I could imagine that, but I also maybe, you know, maybe one of the planets, maybe one of the 1,000 planets is in the black hole, or maybe there are planets in a black hole, you know, system. So that's definitely, I honestly, when he said that, I didn't even think about the fact that there would, I mean, it's an obvious like path to go down and like a thought process, but I didn't even think about black holes in this game. And yeah, that just sounds awesome.
Yo,
I can't
another
wait to
thing to
see how
think
it's
about is
implemented.
like
I don't
we
know
know
how.
so little about black holes that they can do literally anything with it and it'll work.
Right.
I'm surprised Mike had that thought because I genuinely forgot black holes were a thing.
Yeah, right. Like it's like, was he watching Interstellar like before he came,
that
like
that
for
has to be it.
ideas?
Todd, are there
But
time loops?
well, so they did mention, this is, I don't have this down, but Gary Whitta asked about sci-fi and how heavy is their lore, and Todd had broken down, I think, their jump system. I can't remember the acronym, but he like spelled out the acronym, and it's like clear they have lore, but they're definitely doing the same kind of technology that Interstellar talks about, where they like take space and they fold it, kind of thing,
Oh yeah.
with like the piece of paper, and they stick the pencil through it from Interstellar. That's what so he had loosely talked about that. So it definitely sounds like, you know, we're going to, these guys obviously, I think they already said they talked with NASA. They've done their research, and I have no doubt in my mind that they came prepared to talk about you know, space in that regard.
Yeah. Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean, you
of
would
course,
hope so.
like yeah.
Sure.
we were just winging it. No, I mean the viewpoint on like just the lore though. Like this is again a Bethesda game. Like these guys are the masters of lore. Like just think about the amount of books in Skyrim that you didn't read. I read them, and goddamn, they are expansive. Like that's what I love.
Just
Right.
flexing on us like that. He's like,
Yeah. Okay.
I
Well,
know
I'm
you guys
just
didn't
saying.
read it, but I read it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
No.
play video
These
games to
people are
read books.
oh my god. Okay, listen. They are really well
Fucking
written
nerd over
books.
here.
They're cool. There's a lot of cool lore.
No, honestly, I would. Yeah, this might be the game that I finally start doing that because this is a world that I'm definitely interested in.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Okay, so that wraps up the XCast interview in the I can't even think of the word. In the interest of time, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, I was about to
I'm
say
gonna
'cause we
I'm
are.
gonna I'm gonna burn through the IGN interview. We'll bring up one point. I have 5 bullet points here. Bring up one that you want to talk about at the end, but I'll just kind of burn
Okay.
through them real quick. First one, more handcrafted content than any Bethesda game. I think that makes sense based on the sheer amount of planets. 20% bigger main story due to the sheer amount of quests. He estimates it takes about 30 to 40 hours to do the main story quest. Point 3, 4 main cities, New Atlantis being the biggest city they have ever made. Number 4, no seamless transition from surface to space, Todd saying, not that important. And then finally, space combat is, quote, unique, inspired by Faster Than Light and Mech Warrior, boarding ships, stealing ships, targeting specific parts of the ship. So, Dark, I'll start with you. Which of those 5 stick out to you the most?
Honestly, it's the game length. Because the interesting thing about Bethesda titles is that there's different branching pathways, and they always have different links and but you do different quests for all of them. So I'm really curious how, like, do they just pad it out with quests for all of them, or it's an
Yeah,
interesting way that they worded it.
they
Yeah.
talked a lot about factions in general, like all the different like factions that you could be a part of. I wonder if it's going to be a Fallout 4 situation where there's a different ending for each faction. I
I mean, I would
kind of
assume
hope
so. Yeah,
I
I
kind of
want that
hope
too.
it's not as badly implemented as in Fallout 4 because there was only one pathway that it ever seemed interesting. But hey, that's just me.
What about you, Benji? What do you think?
Uh, on I have a feeling Wolf's gonna bring up the space combat city. He said something, but honestly, to me, I think it's important the no seamless transition from surface to space.
Yeah,
Uh,
when I spoke about it.
I agree with that comment that it's not that important because I think the amount of resources they would have to take to do that for all of these planets is just not worth the little bit of immersion you actually get from doing so. And also going back to the no land vehicles, it makes sense that there's no seamless transition because that would imply you could actually control your spaceship on the planet. And it definitely sounds more like the Outer World style of you go in, you chart your course, and it's kind of maybe you just menu into space and not necessarily menu from planet to planet. Although I would also not be surprised if you could do that as well if you don't want to go to space. But yeah, I think that is overblown, an overblown point people want just because it's done well in No Man's Sky. Yes, it's done well in No Man's Sky, but No Man's Sky is a completely different game, and I am totally fine with them not wanting it here.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say this. For a big open world game like this, immersion is overrated. Like I want to like I think exact like my viewpoint is that like I feel like I get enough immersion just by building my character, like my idea of like the traits and whatnot, and like kind of creating a story for myself. Where like I'm not gonna get much out of just like oh man, like it's seamless. Like it just I don't know. It just seems like a cool detail to add.
It's
And
a
if it means
nitpick
that
if you're against it.
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
All right. Well, Wolf, that leaves us with you. What's your one point you want to bring up?
Yeah, the space combat is interesting. Mech Warrior, that's a random pull, honestly. Because
No, I
Mech
agree.
Warrior, I feel like that's like a more ground-based combat game from most of what I've seen. So it's interesting to think about. I think he probably means like just the way that like you utilize your mechs in Mech Warrior as like targeting system and whatnot. Like I guess maybe like a better example would be like kind of how Armored Core 6 is, like, targeting systems, like utilizing missiles, all these extra tools in your array. Like I genuinely wonder like how expansive the weapon variety is. Like, is it just going to be like blasters and missiles? Like I think back to random pool, the Ratchet and Clank games. Where there was the ones with ship combat, so like going commando, which the ship combat in that game sucked, but Crack in Time had really fucking good ship combat, and there was just a bunch of like it was mostly just like missiles and blasters, but like there was also like kind of a mini nuke item, which I thought was really interesting. I kind of hope Starfield has something like that, but I also think they kind of want to keep it simple. I think it's just going to be like blasters, missiles, and like maybe laser guns or something.
Yeah, and,
Yeah, I
and
can
that
see
might
it.
be something we see. Keep an eye out for that in the ship customization. We might get some more details there. I will say I've never played Mech Warrior, but I have played kind of decent amount of FTL, and FTL is another interesting comment just on the flip side of that, because it's like, okay, if my life support room is attacked, like you got to cut it off so that you don't, mess up other rooms that people are in. And so that makes it, and again, going back to the targeting specific things, it's almost like the Starfront Battlefront 2 when you did the space missions, and it's like you can take out the engine, take out the life support, take out the shields. Like there's all these different parts of the ship. Now, obviously, that's very general what they do in that game. So it'll be interesting to see here how targeting different parts of the ship, and maybe like you target one and it means you can't board it anymore, or you board it and like, the half the thing's blown out. Like I do wonder how detailed and how specific they are going to get with that.
Yeah, detail is definitely something Bethesda is very much known for, so I really want to know as well. Like, just they are obsessed with the details. Todd says in this presentation, so I'm ready for whatever they got.
Like, I
Yeah.
think you had something. Yeah.
No, I went over the game length and like the different factions.
Okay. No, I'm sorry. I thought you had something there with the space combat, because I
Oh no,
almost.
I
Okay.
disagree with Wolf.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now that we have all of that preface
Let's
out of the
start the
way,
video.
let's actually start
start.
the video. Let's just jump cut to this kind of opening bit.
I mean, first of all, graphically, this game looks a lot better than I expected it, especially after the last showcase.
Yeah, the volumetric fog, the global illumination.
That lighting got a massive upgrade from Fallout 4 alone.
Yeah. So I do want to pause it right here, just real quick, talking about the watch. So in that
didn't
last
notice this.
shot, we saw the like main quest marker, which is that circle kind of on the outside. It looks like you have a compass on the inside and the outside. And then the main quest marker looks like that, circle kind of sitting there on the, at the 3 o'clock, kind of 3:30 position.
Yeah.
And then obviously, stuff like O2, CO2 readings. I still don't know if I would imagine the planet in the middle is like kind of a sundial more than like maybe a moon phase, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
No, I think you're right. I think it is a sundial.
Because I think it's just telling you like how close you are to like night and day. It's kind of just
Right.
like showcasing.
Which is a really interesting mechanic now that you think about it, because why would you need something like that if there isn't unique quests or enemies for... I'm talking about like in the sense of a game.
Yeah.
I feel like there's
Like
something unique depending on the time of day.
Right.
yeah, maybe at night like new enemies spawn in and stuff.
Yeah. And I think too the Aquila, that should be the name of the planet. That would make the most sense there.
Yeah.
And then real quick, sorry,
Go for it.
just one more thing. Jumping to the next shot, you can see now radiation and maybe either lack of water, lack of liquid. I'm not sure what the orange dot is in the watch, but the red one is
Hydration,
definitely
maybe.
radiation.
I think you're right with the what's it called, lack of water. I bet it's a survival mode. because Fallout 4 had that.
Is that in Fallout 76 as well? You need water.
We don't talk about
Okay.
that one.
To get there, get thirsty after a while.
Ignore that game. Ignore that game. It doesn't exist. Even they tried to ignore it. They just like passed through it really quickly in the presentation. It's clear they don't even want to think about it.
Fragments of it are lingering.
It's definitely interesting though to see those icons there because it is like, okay, I know they've talked about every planet has different oxygen, and this is kind of a No Man's Sky thing of like not every planet's going to be habitable, and there's only so many Goldilockses, and so it's nice to see that kind of attention to detail. Wolf, I know I cut you off there. What did you want to point out?
Just in general, like in relation to the O2 and CO2, like do you think it's a situation where you go on the planet and you have limited oxygen? So like maybe like there's like somewhat of a time limit to how long you can stay on said planet?
Yeah, I would imagine so, to an extent.
I don't know.
Like maybe not a harsh time limit, but like saying like basically like 12 in-game hours of oxygen, something like that.
I don't know if they would do something like that. I feel like that'd be kind of annoying.
Maybe a survival mode, like we said earlier, something like that.
Yeah, or maybe like, yeah, I don't know if you've like been shot a lot, does your O2 go down? Like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure how that is gonna work. Also, is maybe that has something to do with the boosters? Like maybe that's your booster gauge? I doubt it, but I would imagine that's something
Where are you
different.
pointing that out?
The
I mean, wouldn't the CO2 be the booster gauge?
Right, but
I
it's
don't
like
think
they both look like they're the same gauge, right? So it's I don't know how to.
Maybe they both meet at the middle at the bottom.
they use boosters in the gameplay later on, so maybe we can
Okay,
see if they have
keep
the
an eye
icon
out for that. Also, I wonder what this yellow icon. It's like 3 diagonal lines. Are they wavy?
Probably a quest. Well, no, actually,
No,
yeah,
because you can see the quest marker in the bottom right, kind
Yeah,
of like
yeah.
5 o'clock. Yeah, I don't know. It definitely seems like status things are gonna come. It's almost like your car dash, like your check engine lights on.
I got PTSD just seeing that yellow. It's like, oh shit, I gotta go check my engine real quick.
Something real quick. I literally stopped on this randomly. What's going on?
There's a
What is this
fucking
guy
alien
looking
right-
at?
Wait, that's kind of creepy. What the fuck?
What? That's got.
Is that a human?
It's an alien. It
No.
looks like.
They had to have put some bullshit in this trailer. There is no way they're teasing that in this.
Yo, look at your bro's
No
just standing
way.
there.
That is okay. I need to move on. That is freaking me out. Oh yeah, wait. Actually, that was good.
Yeah, go for it.
Look.
He just appeared.
Yeah. So it looks like the red. Maybe those
red
are
is-
like waypoints that you can put on the map.
No, I bet the red are enemies.
Yeah, I think the red are enemies.
Oh yeah, good point.
Considering
Yeah,
there's a bird
you're
there.
right. Yep, you're definitely right.
Also, just real quick, like it's so cool that you can just see other like moons and other planets in the
Oh.
distance.
Yeah, that is
That
my
must have
favorite thing
been
about
really
No Man's
damn close.
Sky is going to other planets that are close to each other and just seeing it's like, oh, this is so cool.
But then again, actually, if you go cut back to like those crab-looking things,
Yeah.
the markers aren't there. So, and I'm assuming you can attack those.
Well, no,
Yeah, I
'cause
mean,
the
it could be a
markers
passive
don't
thing where you
have-
have to piss them off.
But wouldn't they
Yeah,
appear
that's a
anyway?
good point.
I don't know.
Well, no, maybe the enemies were like in that earlier shot, but like now they're kind of just like chilling out. Maybe they're not even
Yeah.
enemies. Like if you attack them, they're just like, what the hell, man?
I think it's worth pointing out too. The quest icon now looks like a mountain range. It looks like a completely different icon than the one we saw before. So I wonder if that's faction related or main quest, side quest related, because that is kind of interesting.
I think it's the latter, main quest, side quest,
Yeah.
something like that.
And then this one's blue and flashing. Like, what is going on there?
They had to have chosen most of these like clips on purpose so that we see all the different quest markers.
That
like,
very
this
well
is
could
weird.
be.
Because it appears here too. That one
Yeah.
definitely seemed more like a waypoint. I mean, just scale yet again. We got to talk
The
about like
environments look
how big
incredible.
this is.
Yeah, they really do. I don't care if this is on 5 different planets. I'm gonna be in awe every time I go to one of these new ones.
Without question. Every time I climb a mountain in Skyrim, I still get that feeling.
Yeah, 100%.
Real quick, St. Louis.
Yeah, yeah. R.I.P.
That was like my first thing.
So when he runs, let's see. Yeah, I guess. Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, you can see it start to deplete a little bit. So maybe that's your stamina,
Oh yeah.
and then
Or
and
it
then
would
it
have to be, yeah.
and then it replenishes based on either skills or maybe it's planet by planet. But I think that's an interesting thing too.
Something
That's a
that
good point.
they mentioned later on, which I'm kind of curious about now that I think about it. They mentioned that there's like a cosmog feature where you can put clothes over your suit, so you can so you're not just looking like an astronaut the whole time. But can you take off the suit and have like special effects where like you can't breathe because you can't, there's no oxygen or something like that, or maybe there's
I
zero
bet you.
gravity and you're floating around and stuff.
I bet the planet needs to have oxygen for you to take off their helmet because they talk a lot about function over style, especially like with the art direction. And I feel
Hmm.
like they want to reflect that with the game itself as well, where you need the helmet if there's no oxygen on said planet.
Yeah.
Well, and even then, I mean, we see people on these planets without suits on, right? So you have to imagine that that is something you can do.
Hopefully.
Real quick, so this is interesting. The structure is kind of a diamond, so m- those could equally be points of interest. And actually, it makes sense that the other one was a mountain range. So yeah, maybe that's a point of interest thing. Um, when you scan stuff, uh, that'll just
I mean,
kind of come up on your mini map or your watch.
I'm gonna be the big scanner for this game, and like I filled out the Hyrule
Oh yeah.
Compendium and
Oh, can you pause it real quick?
Oh yep.
the Kingdom.
You have to go back a little bit.
Yep.
So if you notice on the bottom left, it says there's a meter for the like a percentage for the O2.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe on a planet that has a higher like percentage, you can have like infinite stamina or something.
No, I
Given
can't
that we
imagine
just
that's
seen
the
that
case.
stamina is tied to that, which would be fucking awesome.
That'd be really cool, but I don't.
Or
And then at the
even
same
in
time, you can have planets that have less, being the negatives, and then it may be the more challenging area.
yeah. Well, and even then, like if it's you can see the grav meter right next to it, it's like okay, it might have low stamina, but if you just run and jump, your stamina will refill by the time you land. So that could play a role as well.
It's clear they put a lot of detail just like with how much, like just like oxygen, stamina, gravity for each planet. Like every planet is so different.
So something I legitimately just noticed, this battery bar on the mining tool just went down from 4 to 3. So maybe there's
Well,
something there with the here
Yeah,
I'll
one
play it
third of
again.
the, if you pay attention to the ammo count, one third of the
yeah, I
ammo
was about
count
to
went down
say.
as well. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
well, one
So
fourth. And
and then it
Yeah,
refilled. Okay, so that was nothing
yeah,
burger.
it's
Got it.
just a weapon UI. Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's definitely enemies because now you can see them populate and the screen went flashed red. So that makes sense.
felt so good when I saw that like abandoned mine. It's like, oh, thank God, they still have that Bethesda like discovering locations.
Okay, so something interesting. He just used the booster there, and the oxygen meter, like or the stamina bar, I should say, did not use up much, like whatsoever. Like, yeah, it's like nothing at all.
So it is tied to oxygen
What do you think? Wait, let me.
because it just showed it.
Yeah,
No,
see,
it
it's
didn't
not tied to
move
it.
when he boosted. It moved when he jumped.
Well, I mean
Oh
that
yeah.
always happens in Bethesda games when it comes to stamina and stuff,
So I
Yeah.
guess jumping uses stamina, but not the booster. Then what?
which is really
Maybe
interesting.
booster. Maybe you can only use it like once.
Like a dash.
Yeah, kind of like that. Okay, we
How do you
got a
feel
lot
Got
of
a
about
work.
lot
this
going on.
UI?
I
Okay,
mean,
it's kind of bare bones, but I feel
yeah,
like
it's
it's
gonna
fun.
be like very much function over style, as they mentioned a lot.
Yeah, I do wonder, like, so this is interesting. Frontier, that must be the name, maybe the name of his ship, because you can see Class A. There's two people on this crew, holds
That's
at
the name of the
100%
ship.
integrity.
What's mass underneath the gun?
Probably
Have,
Ammo.
like carry
there-
weight. No, carry
Or,
weight.
oh yeah,
Like
no, you're right. It is carry weight.
Oh, okay.
I know that.
Certification. I don't know
Over
what that's about.
encumbered, my favorite thing.
Yeah, I think
Certification.
certification that would have to do with like skill tree and like because maybe this is a laser pistol.
Yeah, it says lasers, so like maybe you can like equip like which one you want to like level up so that you get it at all times. Like, okay, what's my progress? Like at the moment you press start. Maybe it's something like that.
Maybe.
Wonder top left we see 1654 local time 66 UT. What is that? Like what is UT?
Universal time.
But why would it be oh wait, no, of course it would be different minutes. This isn't Earth
Yeah.
and time zones aren't just a
Yeah.
You know what? Never mind. I'm moving on. That was
Over
a
analysis.
stupid
It's okay.
question. No, I just assume that everyone has time zones like the Earth does. I don't know why I thought that.
Yeah, so mass is the carry weight. Okay.
Yeah. And you can see value, and then okay, so those three lines are corrosive.
Radiation, thermal, and airborne.
I wonder what airborne is. I saw the logo on the watch. Oh,
Probably how
look,
well you
at the bottom it says hide spacesuit in settlements. So at least in settlements you'll have a different you'll be wearing something different. So that's good to know.
corrosive thermal. I bet airborne is like how well you can jump, or maybe like your movement while jumping, like your what do you call it? Like air mobility, like how you move like in the air, something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Also, can we talk about how good that food looks?
Yeah.
Real quick, go back. Actually, there was something I noticed.
Sure.
Alien jerky. I'm just thinking about that. It's like I
Everything
wonder
is
what the
meat, bro.
Well, I mean, you
like.
would imagine that every animal you come across that isn't, on like New Atlantis or something would be alien, right? So maybe that's just their way of oversimplifying like all these different animals. If you kill them, what their meat is.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Orange juice of transcendence. that sounds
Orange
so
juice is
extra.
the best juice. There's your guy, Benji.
My boy. He better have some funny quips.
I wonder. I bet he can actually like follow you around too. Like they showed that earlier or later on in this direct.
Yeah, that was the transition screen to going to space. There was
Oh yeah,
absolutely
that was
nothing wrong with that.
definitely yeah,
That
exactly.
is perfectly fine.
I'm totally cool
It's
with it.
fun.
And you with the
Right?
SSD, I guarantee you all it takes is that transition screen and then you're in space.
Oh, real quick, turn on that captions.
Oh,
He said
yep,
something.
you're right. I turned them off because we were looking at the UI.
Yep,
Yeah,
NASA
talk
punk.
about your NASA
I
punk.
love NASA punk. That is such an amazing aesthetic because like the idea of like function over style. Because like I feel like we get everything when it comes to sci-fi. It just this look at more like aspirational sci-fi because I feel like we've gotten a lot of like horror sci-fi, like darker sci-fi, or like capitalism sci-fi with Outer Worlds and whatnot. It's good to
Right.
get something that's more like this idea of like aspiration, hope. This very much callbacks to the Apollo mission. Just I love it. It's such a unique style.
Yeah, and I do like too. They had just mentioned it in the audio, like how analog it is. Right, we're not looking at a giant touch screen. We're looking at physical buttons and boxes and a very like old school approach to this kind of stuff that I really like, and honestly reminds me a lot of. And I believe I mentioned this in the podcast. Reminds me a lot of Star Wars, where it's like an X-wing. Obviously the concept of a spaceship is something we can't currently do, but the X-wing looks like something that could be built, and that's what I do love about the Starfield look as well.
Agreed.
Another thing, when you was mentioning the planets back then, and how like each planet might have its own biome, that's also very Star Warsy. Like planets like Tatooine, where it's just like a complete desert. It'd be really cool if this
Exactly.
be like Bethesda's take on something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is the one we're gonna have a lot of discussion about.
Yeah, because even on this page, one, it gives you the resources. I don't know what the traits are. Like the planets have traits. What the hell does that mean?
I bet I don't know. Maybe
Maybe
like
they have
the
like special
traits that
perks.
yeah, traits that you can utilize on said planet, something like that. I can't imagine what
Or-
traits would.
Yeah, yeah. That's very interesting. I'd be very interested what that is. But it is interesting too how they show civilian and industrial outpost. So are those the only two places
Yeah, that,
you
I was
can?
about to ask. Are those the only landing zones?
Yeah, I do wonder
I
that.
I feel like I feel like for like uninhabited planets, maybe you can land anywhere. Like just the random empty rocks that we were talking about earlier. But like maybe for stuff like this, like you have to land at one of those outposts
Well,
because like
and
it's a clearance check.
if you look at the UI, it just says set landing target with A. So it very well could be it only works when you hover over the civilian outpost, but we wouldn't know based off of this, but you know, can you just stick, if the cursor was right here and we just press A, would we actually go to that? And I know that kind of ties into the procedural generation stuff. Like maybe if you don't click on a actual icon, you just guaranteed get the procedural generated stuff.
Yeah. And
But
also resources. That's gonna be like the big thing. It's
right,
like, all right.
right.
Wonder I wonder if you could see the resources before you even land on the planet and like know if it's
Yeah, I
gonna be
mean,
just
it
the
looks like you
resources.
can. I'll
I mean, it just
give.
show resources.
Yeah,
Well, I
it's
mean like
and
before like the first time you go to the
oh yeah,
planet.
that's
So
true. I guess we've already surveyed this place, so
I mean,
yeah,
it wouldn't really make sense if it tells you what resources there if you're like exploring like an uninhabited planet for the first time.
yeah.
that's true.
Unless like somebody told you about it, maybe.
Oh,
Okay, something I
okay.
just thought about too. Sorry for cutting
Interesting.
you off. Um, Obviously there's gonna be different planets and different locations. That would mean that some planets won't get any sunlight. So we're just gonna be completely night in some
Oh
planets and then like
God.
completely daylight in some others. That will of course affect the temperature and other things as well.
Right. Yeah, I
How
didn't
in
even
depth are
think
they going
about
with
that.
this?
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I know they're gonna build some scary shit on these dark side of the moon type shit. Real quick, you could. So I guess I was right. You could just press A anywhere, and it. I think what's interesting is it says coniferous forest, so maybe this kind of grayish area is all coniferous forest. Maybe this white stuff is more like ice or water, and then you know what I mean? Like, do they do it that kind of broad?
I mean, I bet like it's
Maybe.
gonna give you like multiple types of biomes, kind of similar to the I forget what it's called. I'll search it up right now. But there's an actual index of like the type of biomes that we discover on Earth. I bet they utilize something similar like that in Starfield.
Well, I guess sorry to better kind of phrase the question. When you're not landing at the civilian outpost or the industrial outpost, like what map is generating, right? Like how many options are there for the coniferous forest? Like, is it all just coniferous forest? Like, kind of going like what are the possibilities depending on where I click my cursor? I'm really interested in that to see how in depth they get with that. You know?
I bet there's a lot. Yeah. Also, apparently it's the Köppen climate classification, so I bet it's gonna be something similar to that and how they differentiate each of the biomes.
Mm-hmm.
And then just solar systems right here, like just the scale of just this solar system could be a game in and of itself. That's what's
Yeah.
so interesting.
How would eclipse work? That's another thing. There is so much they can do with this.
I do
Yeah.
love the in the middle, the gravity bending around the sun. That is such a just and even on the planet, like you can see on that back planet, especially like it bends its own gravity too. That is such a nice small detail.
I mean, it's just one of those things like you can tell everyone on this team is a nerd for sci-fi in the
Right.
best way possible. Like you want the people who are obsessed with this stuff to really get the details down, like the gravity bending around the sun.
And you can see here in the top left, so, closest to farthest from the sun, I would imagine, how many moons they have, relative
The level.
size. Yeah, level. Definitely
what
going to
that
be
means.
important.
Probably like level scaling, like, oh, this is the level you want to go into this place with. I'm not sure what that would mean.
hmm
Oh my god.
Yeah,
It's so crazy.
so just looking like, yeah, like I wonder if the spectral class will mean something.
I mean,
The
obviously it would, because like, why else would it be there if it meant nothing?
Yeah, no, I just mean like how is that like, do I know, oh, F-Zero systems are the ones I want to go to? It's like how I do wonder what those classifications kind of entail. But it is interesting too. You could see 6 planets, 15 moons, 0 outposts. That's kind of that's a nice kind of
Like a
uh
Zero
detailed,
outpost
macro
means that
level.
like it's like no
maybe
humans there.
outpost like your own.
No,
I meant
your own.
maybe.
Yeah, I think that's your
Oh,
own.
okay.
I mean, it's just like it kind of plays to the idea of like you're surveying the galaxy, you're exploring what is out there.
So that's interesting. It looks like
Very
fully
nice.
alpha has a faction related to it.
The big thing right there, fuel consumption. So you're gonna
Right,
definitely need fuel to get through the light years. This one alone is 20 light years.
right. And
I
even
guess
like
that's also
cargo
how they
hold.
balance out the game.
Go ahead.
Oh,
The
as I say, I guess that's how they balance out the game of the jumps and what you need to make the jumps, if that is a resource.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I think Todd even says that like in a couple seconds. It is interesting. Like, what is the difference between F-Zero and G5? I want to know. Can't wait to find out.
I'll go get Todd on the phone, figure it out right now.
Get him a speed dial.
So,
Unexplored route. That's an interesting thing.
okay.
Specifically route. So maybe like on your way to these things, like something could happen along the way. Maybe like something breaks or like space pirates raid or like situation like that. I feel like that could be an interesting detail.
So I don't know how big you guys are into Star Wars, but they kind of explain like the routes a bit. So there's normal routes, which are safe travel, like so you can go through hyperspace and all that through them, and you don't have to worry about anything. And then there's the unexplored routes, which like you have all types of like anything can happen in those routes. You can get raided, you can hit an asteroid field, a lot more dangerous paths. I imagine that there'll some point during the story there'll be a planet we have to go to where like the routes are cut off and we're gonna have to take a super dangerous path to get there, and then it'll be like a whole segment.
Yeah, I definitely feel like pirates. That's what that tells me is
I love it.
unexplored system. Like you're gonna run into some trouble.
Space pirates is still the coolest concept to me. A cargo hold as well. That's an interesting thing to look at. So probably like there's a max limit to your cargo, which isn't that crazy to think about.
Right.
Just realized we're like 5 minutes into this presentation. There's so much here.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so there's the contraband scan.
We talked about it quite a bit. And just look at
Uh,
New Atlantis alone. Or, I mean, New Atlantis, the actual city. The actual planet is called Jemison, which is interesting.
yeah.
Real planet? Check.
The water is safe. It tells you if the water is safe to drink or not.
Yeah, I saw it was radioactive on one of the other ones, which is interesting.
Oh, cool detail. Macy Jemison, maybe that's what the planet was named after, was the first African American woman to travel into space.
Oh.
Oh, cool.
So
So
maybe
that
it's like a
sounds like
little Easter egg.
exactly what it was named after, to be
Yeah,
honest.
right, yeah.
I mean, again, it's just these like really nerdy details. Like they clearly love space travel and the idea of like the new horizons.
And you know what I love about what they just showed? It looks like you can actually go into the buildings instead of Cyberpunk where you just stay outside and wonder what's inside.
The amount of
It's like,
shade
hey guys,
Cyberpunk is
just
getting.
Oh yeah.
just us guys.
I mean, I am
Inside joke.
fresh off of beating it, so I will tear it apart.
And right there, that guy who said, "Buddy, it's coffee." It's like, yep, that Bethesda writing. That's what I want. I want that like snide humor, like that quick jab humor. I just the charm of their writing. I love so much.
Floating whale.
Oh yeah, dude, that shirt is sick.
I
I
don't know.
noticed that the
feel like
first time.
I feel like we might see some stuff like that. Just like space exploration.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so much out there in the universe that they could even like expand upon alone.
So it definitely feels like this cutscene is like the intro cutscene, where
You
it's
think?
like, yeah, because they talk about how you start as a miner, and then and we'll get to it. The screen before the character creation, it's like two
It's like
people
you're
being
waking up.
like, yeah, you're waking up, and I think you touch this, and like something happens, you pass out, people find you, people find this, and then they get you in touch with Constellation. But that's me over obsessing about the details again, so who
I feel
knows?
the fact that they showed the face in the cutscene tells me it isn't though. I feel like that the initial cutscene of you being knocked out would be first person.
I mean, if that is the opening cut, it's very like 2001 Space Odyssey type deal they got
Yeah.
going on.
But you know for a fact they watched.
If there's not a floating baby in space,
Do any of the characters stand out to you guys?
they
I
look
like
like
the space
the
cowboy.
characters.
Well, I just meant like
Yes.
I don't know anything interesting. Walter's the one for me that I feel like he's going to
Yeah.
screw you over.
I mean, he looks like
Yeah,
a
space
corporate guy.
capitalism.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it feels like Bethesda main quest characters where it's like, I'm not gonna remember your name, but hey, you're cool.
Sure.
Which hey, I don't mind that. It's like for me, it's the exploration that matters in these games. And obviously the quests, like I want some interesting quests, which I know for a fact there definitely will be.
How beautiful that is! Holy crap!
It's
Yeah.
colors. There's colors.
And then there's whatever that is.
That's scary. That's what that is.
That's going to be on the all dark side of the moon.
Kind of goes over New Atlantis. We might want to skip around here. Like, I feel
Sure.
like we got pretty much all we need through New Atlantis.
For the sake of time, it makes sense we skip through a little bit.
Yeah. No,
Neon,
I was
real
just going to
quick.
show off
Neon
because I think they
sick.
just did the Western town too. I'll kind of skip back. Yeah. Just
Right here.
'cause I think this is worth looking at a little bit. Just like we're back on Aquila, it looks like, so that's interesting. That was the first place we started at.
Yeah.
They
Two of
said that
crypto planets are bigger.
right, and they said that what I think the Cowboys' last name was Co, and you can see in the left the signpost Co Plaza. I wonder if there's some lore there. You know,
There's
maybe
also a location called
Shot.
the Core, which sounds like ominous as hell.
yeah, maybe it was like the bar. You got spaceport, the hitching post. Yeah, it
Is it
just
just
looks
me?
awesome.
It reminds me of Megaton from
Yeah, it
Fallout 3. I
does.
don't know why.
Yeah, I can see it.
But yeah, a lawless town. That's good. This I bet is probably where you sell your contraband. And then a faction with
Perhaps.
the Freestar Rangers.
Yeah, Neon
Neon,
looks awesome.
it's what Cyberpunk should have been. Sorry, enough Cyberpunk roast.
The amount of
Yeah.
cyberpunk shade being thrown here is crazy.
But hey, Cyberpunk, look, this is how you actually do.
Sorry, Keanu.
Keanu is the best part of that game. But yeah, I mean, there's not much else to analyze here. It's very much just like
Yeah,
going
I'm
over the
kind of
challenges.
jumping.
I mean, character creation.
Getting to the. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is the scene I was talking about. Where he wakes up. Yeah, and look, she's even holding the parts in her hand that you touched.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that makes
honestly, I think
sense.
you might be
So
right.
I feel like, yeah, and because you don't know what you look like, it makes sense that it was first person. Yeah, I just get a strong
Yeah.
feeling, but it could be a bait and switch.
Oh, they're very big on that. Like, it's funny because they always show the full openings for most of the Bethesda games before launch.
Well, and
Like,
it's
it's just
also like
rare.
the easiest thing to show, right? It was the same with Zelda, right? Where they mostly showed like the kind of tutorial Sky Island area and like a little bit of Hyrule, because it's like, yeah,
I only showed this guy. They didn't
yeah, it's
show
like
anything for Zelda.
you really, show as much as you can in the first 3 hours. That way, the other 200, are a surprise.
Are yeah, are wholly your own because everyone's most likely going to have a very similar first 3 hours.
I think, yeah, definitely interesting. Well, it's kind of just. It is kind of
You guys try.
basic. I guess it's not that interesting. It's just kind of the basic character creator.
It's a lot
There's
better
not
than
really much.
Fallout 4. That's about
Yeah,
it.
you
It
got a
does
locked
look
top body type.
like a little more in depth.
They very much are hyping up the idea that it's very in depth. It kind of just looks the same. It looks better than last Cyberpunk did. It's better than the
Oh
Cyberpunk
my
character
god.
creator. That one was dog
Sure.
shit. Yeah, no, I mean not much else to say about the character creator in general. At least it looks like
I
you can have piercings. I think I noticed that
have what?
piercings.
Oh,
I bet that's a thing. You guys have tried to make your characters look like you, or just wholly different?
I do it the first time, and then I'll start making characters.
Yeah, I
I don't
do
know
it once,
why.
then I just go crazy.
Yeah.
I can't make it look like me. I'd be like, I don't want to play as myself. Here's the fun part. This is for
Yeah,
me.
this is
Trace,
where I wanted to really.
dissect.
Actually, it's great. I'm just gonna put it on like half speed,
That I
just
tell
so
you
we could.
guys.
No.
Dude,
Just so because
for
they
this segment.
burn through these quickly.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So we get.
lasers, astrodynamics, surveying.
You could be a chef, which is funny to think about.
You
Yeah,
could be a Ronin.
gangster. Just interesting. A
And there's more to
pilgrim.
like scroll through. Kind of reminds me of Oblivion. I mean,
And
diplomat. Like,
so it is interesting too. It looks like some of these are overlapping, right? So there's definitely, it's not however many 20 times 3. There's not like 60 different skills. It's, or I guess
I
if
mean,
it's
we don't
starting
know.
well, if it's
Like,
starting skills,
I
maybe that's the same as the skill tree. Like those are your 3 skill tree starts. That would make the most
they,
sense.
they go over skills later. I counted 82 skills, like over all the skill trees that they showed. I saw 82 separate skills. But
Okay.
I understand what you mean though, of the idea that like some of these skills are shared between the different like backgrounds.
Yeah, I think they definitely they picked out, the ones that make the most sense to start you with, because I mean, you can see the security one, that's definitely lock picking, right? And that's in the skill tree. So, I think your background, while you probably want it to play more to the, top bit with the the description, I'm sure the skills you start with for some people that will make a difference.
And what I adore is just like they mention it later, but like these backgrounds come to effect later, like Beast Hunter or like Cyber Runner. All this stuff is important quests
Right.
that you are able to do, and I love that. It adds more to like what you want to do with your character. You know, that role playing. God knows I am making a character sheet and backstory and all that, man.
Right. No, I agree 100%.
Also, no voice protagonist, which is a massive W. I just
Yep.
have to say that right now.
I mean, I didn't mind it before.
No,
I
well,
feel
because
like 4 got a lot of flack.
the issue with mass voice protagonists is the voice actor has to record every line in the game that you say.
Yep.
So
That's
you're gonna
true.
get less options in general. That's
There's
Fallout 4
less
had, like
dynamicism.
you had 4 options per like each conversation, and
Right.
half of them were sarcastic. And like you're like, well, I guess I'll just choose sarcastic because I'm an asshole. Fallout 4, man, what a game.
So real quick, traits.
This is probably the thing I'm most
You can have
excited about,
alien
honestly.
DNA as a trait. What does that even mean?
That might be the one where you can talk to, or no, that was a skill, I think, where you like
Yeah,
control
that was
the aliens.
yeah, xenobiology. What I love is you get like a good thing and a bad thing, and I think that's actually adds more to the almost like just the sheer dynamicism of this system and like how many options you have. It's just so many extra things. I mean, there's extra for Serpent's Embrace. Like, just look at how much there is here alone.
Yeah, this one right here specifically is interesting because Neon Street Rat, it says can't be combined with any other faction allegiance. Did we know Neon had its own faction?
I think we did. I think they mentioned Neon as a faction earlier. Hang on, you gain access
But
and better
to be fair,
rewards.
it can't be combined with any other faction trait, not factions in general.
Right, but I'm
Oh,
saying because you can't combine two faction traits, so that would make sense
yeah.
that it's a faction and you can't have more than one buff because you're
Maybe.
already dedicated to this one.
Well, maybe it's also like you can't have one neon buff plus another neon
Oh,
buff.
because
Like
it
they can't
says
stand
too,
on top of each other.
crime bounty by other factions is greatly increased because you're with the neon. You're kind of like pledging yourself. So that, yeah, that's nice to see.
I think. Wait, go back actually to Neon Street Rat. I
Yeah.
want to read that part a bit. Uh, I think they say crime bounty by other factions. I think that more so means that if you do a crime in another faction's place, the bounties will go up like more.
Right, because
Like instead
because
of
they
25.
know you're. I guess that's more of a, yeah, you're like a more of a street rat than necessarily associated with neon.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair point. Okay. Yeah, this
And I mean, just like
one, introvert. Yeah, you're better off alone. The
I was
adoring
about to say, it's like
fan.
what if I combine introvert and extrovert, but it turns out like they said specifically you can't, which is like
Right.
okay, they care about those details again. And I mean, this is beautiful. The fact
That's
that this
interesting
all
that they
matches up.
mention his traits on the right. So maybe like when you talk to someone that you maybe want to recruit to your team, it'll show you real quick what their skills are.
Possibly.
I feel like it was either that or it was just through the presentation they wanted to show off the traits.
Potentially. But this does seem like just raw gameplay.
That's true. I will
So
say kid stuff I'm definitely not doing because they're just like, oh, you have to send money. Nope.
yeah, right. Yeah. See
Like
ya.
I did that. I did that with Pokemon Heart Gold.
Yeah,
Regretted it.
right, exactly. I always forget that my mom's hoarded half my cash.
It's like, give me my money. And she's like, I bought you a potion. But I don't want a potion. I'm at the Elite
Right.
Four.
This is interesting too. Like look like it's like a persuasion mini game.
I mean, that's
It
how it's
reminds me
always
of
been,
Cunning
but they're
Canadian.
finally showing you it now, which is
Yeah,
pretty good.
right. But it's
I
like,
wonder
yeah, they're really like gaming the system, which I kind of like.
what's interesting. It's like +1, +4. There's 3 +4s, but they're all different colors. I wonder what that means.
Maybe it's persuasion but higher chance of combat.
Yeah, but they're all +4. I guess like maybe you
I
have
mean, I
all
don't
of
know
these
because yellow seems a lot more hostile than red, like the top yellow.
No, red is like the most hostile color.
No, but like look at the text though.
No, I think.
Can't you?
Well, yeah, or maybe it's just like ruder, right? So she's more. Yeah, no, I feel like it is the color is aggressiveness, and then,
Could
um,
fit.
yeah, I
But
don't know.
it,
But we're speculating.
you say, can't you cut me a break here? Like that's an asshole thing to say versus like, oh, who knows how long it'll be. Where you're kind of
Right.
just being snide. Hype.
That was the most beautiful part of the
Yeah, that was
The
really funny.
interesting. So they very much joke about the idea of like removing traits. I wonder how you would remove like other traits. Can I?
Um,
Okay, this is gonna sound morbid. Can I kill my parents?
yeah, probably. I
Why
guarantee
would
you
you want to
you
do that?
can.
I'm just wondering. It's
or maybe
that's
you
the
cut
needed.
them off. Um,
That's fucked up. Imagine just cutting off communication with my parents. It's like, I don't want to send you money anymore, mom.
and then like maybe with the factions ones, you just piss them off enough. They were like, all right, you're like just dead to us completely. I don't know.
I mean, how do you remove introvert? Do you just go to more parties?
Yeah, right. Okay,
And then this
let's
is
look at
so,
the.
so like I said,
Oh my god.
One,
dude, I
two,
see that
three, four,
screen and I'm like,
five
this is the
different
this is
things.
the this is the greatest day of my life.
Yeah, that is awesome. But that is the security one they were showing earlier. So that
And then just look at that rank 1, rank 2, rank 3. Like I think it's like you level up, you unlock rank 1, and then you level it up from there. And I feel like that's such a good like balance between kind of like how Skyrim and like Fallout, like kind of good balance and combining of how both systems do it. And I really like that.
yeah, I'd agree.
I think now that I look at it, actually, I think you have to like use a like level up point to rank it up, but you need to unlock the actual rank.
Oh wait, I just realized what it was. Okay, the the what was it like with the persuasion meter? It's based off of the skills. If you look at the colors, they all have something different to them.
Oh. Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, security.
Yellow's
Oh
intimidation.
yeah.
Red is on the right
Yeah,
hand
yeah,
side.
yeah,
You can
yeah.
see it.
No, that is a good call out.
Oh,
That
great
would
point.
okay. Well, now I gotta go back and see.
Also, I just love how
Uh,
the most replayed is the freaking the what's that guy? The adoring fan. I think you're right there.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So
Yeah.
yellow's intimidation.
Who knew Dirk could be right?
yeah, I
Shut the
like
fuck
that theory.
yes.
I like that theory.
Green is physical. What was green? I don't remember what green
No,
was.
that green was the most passive answer though.
Well, I, mean, I don't think it's like
Red is
purely telling
combat.
you science and then tech. We'll turn on captions again, by the way.
Yeah, this is an interesting just concept in general.
See that's the thing. It looks cool. I know for a fact I'm not gonna do it,
Yeah,
but like
true.
it's
Oh
again
look,
that
Booster Pack has
choice.
his own little gauge on the
Oh,
right hand side.
I missed it.
Oh yeah, I just saw it.
Give it a
Oh
second
yeah,
here.
you're right. It
Yeah.
does. Yeah.
So
Okay.
maybe when you train with it, you're actually able to like fly in the air more.
So then the left one is definitely stamina.
This is the Saitama build. Just one punch man.
All right. Oh, I
That,
do. I love stealth, and this looks very, very good.
yeah.
Like
It
the
doesn't look like it doesn't look as expansive as like a Metal Gear or a Splinter Cell, but like you don't need it to. Like,
yeah, right.
when
It's still.
I don't think
Hey,
they're even going for that.
I'm not gonna say the name of the game, but we're all thinking it. It's better than that stealth.
hey, listen.
Yo, look, you're the only ones hating a cyberpunk here, right?
Okay,
What is
so
your thoughts on? Never mind. Let's just keep going.
are we? Are we sure they're tied to the? Is it just random
I
that
don't
they
know.
happen to be
I don't
green,
think
yellow, and red again?
yeah, maybe that's the thing. We don't really know. This is very much a persuasion mini game.
Yeah,
actually.
I do. I think it's more risk reward. I think +1 is the safer option, but +6 might get them to persuade you, but they also have a chance of like shutting you down or like pulling their gun out.
Well, that's the thing though. +5 seems like the best option in general if you just want it like quick and easy.
Sure, but
Like
if this
obviously we
guy's
don't.
if this guy's like a what's the word, like a rule follower, he's like, you're trying to
A
bribe me,
bootlicker?
I'm gonna turn you in,
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. That's the thing. It's like very much they didn't go much into like dialogue and like conversations, which obviously they went into enough detail with everything else. I'm fine with that, but I really want to see how that persuasion game like works. I love like I mean I always run charisma. I always make sure to have a lot of charisma.
Okay, that was interesting. His jump did not cost any, and then he boosted. I don't know if
Yeah,
it's because it's low
because he
gravity.
No, because I think he like pressed X again in midair. So like his initial jump is fine, but when he pressed X again to boost in the air, then that's how it works.
Yeah, it's very interesting. All right, what else we got? Okay, it's pretty. Let's jump to ship customization a bit.
My ship customization is oh my god.
The reactor
Oh,
types. Oh boy.
good God.
See,
So
the
that,
thing is, there's
Yeah,
so
look at the
much here.
value of that ship. I do not like.
you
If
know
you were
what?
to
Real.
steal a ship and then sell it, you be
No, but
loaded.
look, it's unregistered. So,
Yes, that's the question. What
Hey,
does
look, there's 2 out
registered
of 6, so you can hold 6 ships. At least where this guy is in this current point of time.
right.
yeah,
He's
ship
also not a
206.
vendor, so
Yeah, I wonder, is this, oh, I think, is he at a vendor?
yeah, it says
Hang
at
on,
the
hang
top
on.
right.
Okay.
Vendor credit.
Look at the top right though. Vendor credits. So you can try to sell it for 368,000. You're not
Yeah,
gonna
you're
have
not
the
gonna
money
get it.
though. Yeah. It's like, dog, you're
Oh,
gonna creep
right,
me out. That's probably how they balance it through vendor credits.
right. Yeah, because I mean, look, it's unregistered, and yet you can sell it. So that goes back to what we were talking about earlier with balancing the economy. So it definitely sounds like, yeah, maybe you can.
I mean, that's just an interesting thing in general, just how much more credits the vendors have when you really think about it. Because it's like in Skyrim, they were lucky to have 1,000 gold. Now
Right,
we're looking at
right.
like 72K. I wonder
I
how
mean, the
much
stuff that
money
you were
is.
selling in Skyrim was a lot less compared to a fucking spaceship.
That's true. I mean, look at that. Like you can add cargo holds. I
A
wonder what are
different
all
brand.
the.
That's a brand that cargo holds too. Freaking Dog Star. So that'd probably be like a specific brand that have different
Can I
effects and
put a
shit.
Monster Energy logo?
Yeah,
Benji, are you
there's
talking?
so much on the
Okay.
screen.
I didn't know if you were talking.
No, you're good. You're good.
Like I feel like we could do an analysis part 2 just on the like ship customization. That's what's
To be
Yeah.
honest, they could.
so
I'm just trying to
interesting.
keep like I'm just trying to look for like high level.
Of course. Hang on, go back to the options. I want to check when he was talking to that guy.
Oh,
Yeah.
and I still missed it.
Benji, what happened to you?
Amateur
There we
work.
go.
Only 1,000 credits to repair your ship.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
bad.
ship.
Well, depending on the repair, right?
Yeah, if you bring in like a fucking trailer wagon that's just like got bullet holes all over it, he's just like, yeah, dog, I'm gonna need like 100K minimum.
Right.
Yeah, view and modify ships to sail. Why would you buy a ship? You know, if you could make your own ship, like why would you buy one? That's what I'm saying. And
I
then
think
where did Oh, hang on. Where did I say? Probably just like for the planets, like where I could sell
yeah,
things.
I think the bottom two are like, hey, tell me where to go. I think I like that, you know.
Yeah, just like small world building details. Again, just like the customization, like that. See, that's the type of ship I was talking about. That's probably what Todd meant by endgame.
Right. Yeah, there's so much going on here.
Yeah. Real quick, it says crew there. That I'm assuming all this stuff on the overview is like crew, just the amount of crew, like maximum crew that you can have on the ship. Shield, I guess shield and health are separate.
Yeah,
That's kind of
the
my thought.
shield you could tell on the space combat, it's in the right, it's kind of that wavy looking thing in the bottom right. That was definitely shields, and then hull integrity is your where with that? The hull, kind of under fuel, kind of near the top. So yeah, it definitely looks like shields and health are separate. And then what is this? Laser 6, ballistics 13, and the missiles 47. That would make the most sense.
Ballistic. Yeah, so I guess those are going to be the three
Like
like
machine
big
guns. So
things.
those are your 3 types.
Okay. Then value and mass. I guess just like how heavy the ship is. Again, kind of that obsession with the details.
God, look at just this.
The
I
grav
mean,
drive.
come
Grav?
on.
I mean, Grav Drive, I'm assuming for like light years and whatnot.
Yes, that was what Todd said in the interview, that like it's an abbreviation for something.
Yeah.
See, I mean, even like the bay in your landing gears, like, I. Oh
Again,
my
it's that
god.
obsession with the details. Like, how many bays can we use? Like, that's what's
Yeah.
interesting.
Oh.
That's so much information here.
Yeah, it really is information overload. I just quickly wanted to see.
This looks like kind of one of your first ships as well, because they said ship 1 out of 1.
So you can increase the amount of ships you have.
Yeah, no, they
Or
do
able to
say
hold.
you start. This is the ship you start with. They have confirmed that.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, weapon 0, weapon
Yeah,
1.
weapon 0, 1, 2, engine, shield. So this seems like the more simplistic approach, if I were to guess. And then yeah, this
Yeah,
is the more in-depth one. But again,
I
I
mean, there's
also.
cost.
That's how pricey shit gets. Holy shit.
Yeah, and that's what. Yeah, and that makes sense. That's what Todd was saying.
And it's crazy. I mean, you start off here. If this is the starting ship, you start off with 82K credits. That tells you just how high the ceiling's gonna be.
Sure.
Can you buy a planet?
Yeah. Wait. Okay. Hold
I'm
on.
buying it.
Look at. Okay. So just this Nova Galactic computer core, there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 10 different versions he's scrolling through left to right.
He's just scrolling right by them like they're nothing. It's like, wait, hang on.
Yeah.
Also,
So
real quick, your
yeah.
credits 648K,
Yeah.
and
Jeez.
the vendor has 923K.
Bender
Holy
is
shit,
balling, bro.
for real.
Okay. Another thing I just noticed. Look at this on the right. The one up and down. So like, is that 10 tiers? Are you saying you can have like a? Well, actually, that makes sense with the mech they show later. But just like the
Oh, probably
scale.
levels. Yeah.
Fucking tank of a ship.
Oh yeah.
Unbelievable. Oh, I do like flight check. That's an interesting button. Maybe that's to make sure this ship actually flies. It's like,
Yeah, that's probably a thing. Because you saw that Gundam, it kind of had trouble getting off the
yeah,
ground.
right. Oh yeah, the look 3 errors. So yeah, you definitely, there are definite requirements, for them all.
It's just the fact that they're able to look at all this stuff in general is pretty crazy.
Yeah, just like you said, information overload.
Oh yeah, colors. This is
Thank God they have a recent, because trying to match the RGB every single time, like the hex
yeah, I was about to
codes, I
say.
hate games that don't do that.
You're probably gonna have like favorites that you can assign. I was like, okay, I just want all my ships to be black and red.
Right.
And just the interiors alone. I wonder how customizable the interiors of your ship are.
Well,
Probably
I mean,
not.
the one had 10
It might
options,
be
right?
like,
So
yeah,
you
damn.
you'd
Oh my
think.
god. I just look at how big these ships get in general. It's crazy. And you
Yeah.
can fly them in space. Like these are very much things you fly. They're not just vehicles for you to look at.
Are there any ship designs you guys really want to try and build? Like, have you thought about that?
Mainly everything from Star Wars, really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the first thing that comes
X-Wing
to
would
mind. Yeah, an X-Wing would be insane.
I okay, this is like the Ratchet and Clank fan in me. I want the Aphelion from Ratchet and Clank. I want to
Okay.
see if I can make that work. And for any Ratchet fans, if you know that.
So for me, definitely, I want to make kind of like a bigger Pelican from Halo, but I also
Oh
want to make a
yeah,
Pillar of Autumn, because that is the dream.
that's the dream.
Remaking like a Pillar of Autumn, like freighter looking thing, that'd be so cool.
Maybe I make like a
Dude.
giant Batwing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, just again, it's like these ideas, and I bet they work. I bet we can make them work. Companions, I feel like we can kind of like skim through this
Well,
part.
I was
This is
just gonna
kind of
point out, I think, do they show it again? Yeah. So like this is that same thing we saw with the Adoring Fan, where it's like these are their traits, and like, are they good for the mission you're on? Do you want them on your outpost? Do you want them on your ship? Like stuff like that. I think that's really interesting.
Well, to be
yeah.
honest, I think this is just a more streamlined version of what they had in Fallout 4, because every companion had specialized in
A
different
more
things.
visual showcase.
Yeah,
That's
like I
Right.
know Piper was really into lock picking and stuff like that. It did a terrible
Yeah,
job of explaining that,
she
but
never picked the locks. Every time I'm like, okay, well, you're a lock picking. You can do an expert one. And she's like, I can't do that. It's like, what the fuck are you used for then?
it's a more streamlined version of that.
And we got again in the top right, kind of talking to the person, seeing their skills at a glance.
Yeah, I wonder how many companions there are in the game in general. Because like this dude right here, like this is just some random guy who got crash landed on the planet, and his skills suck.
Yeah. Right.
It's
Well,
like,
you
oh,
could see too. Oh, well, actually, this is a better screen to post on. So this is actually interesting because I didn't notice this earlier. You have all ship, current outpost, and outposts. So this seems like your total crew management. You can see one's on the Crimson Fleet outpost. A couple are assigned to the ship. Unassigned. One's on an outpost. Yeah, this is very, very cool.
and just in general, like there's all ship, current, and then outposts in general. Like I bet that tells me there is a shit ton of companions because I bet they want you to have a bunch of outposts.
And only 4 of them are romanceable.
That's the weirdest thing. I bet there's gonna be DLC or mods and shit. I just don't want to like Serena situation from Skyrim where it's like
That
every
was
romance.
that
So
was a
that
catastrophe. That
that was big
situation was
Joker moment,
terrible.
man.
They were
Um,
evil for that.
Let me some Vasco. All right, let's move on to space.
This whole thing is space.
Okay, well,
I know what you mean. Very much space combat. Was Benji? You would know this. Was there space combat in No Man's Sky?
and No Man's Sky, yeah.
Was it any good?
It was fine. I remember playing it, it was very basic.
Do you think it will be like similar to this, or do you think this already?
No,
looks more
this reminds me of a mix of. Did you ever play Star Wars Squadrons?
Very briefly.
Because this screen right here is literally. And I don't know. There are probably games that have done it before Star Wars Squadrons, but the whole power management, like choosing between weapons, engine, shield, and your grav drive, like that is straight. The power management is what I assume most with Star Wars Squadrons, and I love that because it's like sometimes you just need to
Yeah.
maneuver, sometimes you need to fight, sometimes you need to defend, uh, and being able to switch back and forth is so nice.
Just options, just again giving you that expansive options is what they really
And you can
want.
see too in the bottom right, yep, shield offline. It kind of counted down a little bit. You saw the whole health kind of go down. Yeah, then
I
that's
wonder,
back up, recharges.
can you crash into other enemy ships? Like only once, but can you do it? That's the question.
I'd imagine.
I would hope. That's all I need.
Also, for anyone who doesn't know, the Starfield controller matches, like the schematics on the controller match up with
It is
the
so cool.
Very cool.
in-game, the default setting, which is very, very cool. I love that.
I mean, it's just I'm obsessed with this controller. I keep looking at it all the time.
Yeah, it's beautiful. The ironic thing is I will not be playing it, using it for the game because I like my back paddles, but yeah, it is a looker. Yeah, so right here, I mean, you can tell you're targeting. It's almost like VATS
Yeah,
for
I was about to say that.
ships, which is, and you can see their levels for what they have. I don't know what par is. That must be a different weapon type.
Like peripheral vision. I don't know.
No,
I'm just
that's
thinking.
no, yeah, I don't know what it is, but
That's what that
you can see missiles right there, and it does look like because on your ship the weapons are on the left, and then engine, shield, grav on the right. So
It's interesting. You can't target the gray part with the grav. I bet like you can't target that one.
well,
'Cause
no,
that's
I
really
think that just shows that they don't have any energy in their grav right now. It's all in
because
the
like they
other
haven't
ones.
divulged it, yeah,
Yeah,
or diverged it.
and then your target. Yeah, okay. So This makes sense.
target them.
So the so when you're in VATS, your left stick controls what you're targeting. So right now it's targeting the engines. It was just targeting the PAR. Now it's targeting the shields, and then the shields go down. Yeah, that's very cool.
I mean, just in general, like it's very expensive. A random question: do you think there's going to be some type of accessibility or situation where you don't have to engage with? Well, obviously, you don't have to, but like maybe like to help with people with motion sickness, because I assume this would really affect people with motion sickness.
I don't know. It'd be cool. I would.
So
Obviously.
I think that ties into the routes. I feel like you will have to do it at least once or twice during the story. If you just take the safe route, I don't know what the difference between a safe route and not safe route is outside of the story, but that'd probably be your way of avoiding it.
I feel like flying in space in general might be a lot for some people though too. I bet there's like maybe like a mode where you just like move on like a two-dimensional plane almost, right? Like you don't have to worry about like going up and down, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think worth pointing out, so you can see this one's registered and you see shipbuilder upgrade ship. And then this one is unregistered and you can only make it your home ship. So
Gotcha.
you can store
Register.
the ones you steal, but you do have to register it first to be able to upgrade it. So it does sound like we said before, you can store them. Also, well, no, I think this is just there was no sell option on the other ones too, so I don't think this is the right screen for that. But I wonder too if make home ship means you can call this one anywhere, and then the other ones have to stay at specific ports, like star ports.
I bet there's something like that, yeah.
All right.
But yeah, they kind of go over the watch and stuff, which
Yeah,
man, that watch.
got the
Like the looks
watch.
great.
I, I
Looks great.
I mean, I bought it.
Yeah, same.
I'm all in. Did you buy the headset? Because I didn't really find a
No,
use for the
but
headset.
because I already have the original Xbox headset that they started selling this generation, but apparently the headset makes special noises when you turn it on and when you mute your mic. So that was actually a cool touch that I didn't know, and that they didn't even market. But it does look nice. Okay, so this is interesting. They pressed the LB button to show resources, and it changed it to this map, kind of
Showed you where
giving
everything
you,
is.
yeah. That still makes me wonder, like, is this kind of squarish looking one? Is that a map? Like, I just don't know how they procedurally generate this stuff depending on where you land on the planet.
I mean, I assume like it maybe it procedurally generates whenever you enter the actual solar system, and then it keeps what's been generated like saved to your specific version of Starfield.
Maybe.
Because I have a hard time believing that you can land somewhere and walk around the entire planet. Like, there's definitely going to be boundaries.
Yeah, I don't think anybody expected to be going around the entire planet. That'd be ridiculous.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. It's just like where, yeah,
Maybe a
God,
moon you
Where
can
does
do
it
it
end?
since moons are tiny, but
sure.
Well, maybe it's a thing like if you try to go in the water, like it's dangerous. Like the water will kill you. Like they even say water chemical, something like that. So like you can't go on the water in these planets.
that can look sick.
Yeah, very much going over the environment. Just look at that, like the geological feature robotics facility.
Yeah, that looks
It's
straight
clear
out of
like
Pokemon.
these randomly generated planets. They clearly still have a lot of care put into them. Like they very much like fine tuned their random generation
Oh
to a
yeah,
T.
100%.
They've been doing it since like Morrowind, right?
Yeah. No, Daggerfall, I think even.
Oh yeah, Daggerfall. Yeah, no, like they know procedural generation more than at least up there with any other developer. Maybe Hello Games is the only other one, but even then.
Right. Okay, I
And
think.
just looking at this, it looks
Yeah, it
fun.
doesn't look they're showing much any.
Outposts. All right, I'm gonna ask you guys: were you outpost builders in Fallout 4?
No.
No.
That's like the
But
they
that's a
got hidden
different.
release.
That's a
All
different.
right,
Yeah, can of worms.
this is me,
They
baby.
force you to do it at the end of the game. I'm like, I fucking hate you.
I was an outpost fanatic, but I will say I only had one outpost. They kept asking me to do other outposts. I'm like, nope.
I
This
mean, I
is the
made like
one I
a
have everything in.
base eventually just to store all my power suits.
I loved outpost building in Fallout 4. It just alone this free roaming camera
Yeah,
really helps.
Like when
I
you
mean,
go, why would I need a big outpost when I can just make my just take, like clean that planet for myself? The whole planet's my outpost.
yeah, I don't think I mentioned this on the podcast, but as like so for my ship designs, right, I'm kind of going for the Halo kind of style,
Yeah.
but for the outposts, and it's a shame Moon isn't here because he'd know what I mean, but I'm going 100% like old school Epcot architecture because that's exactly
Yeah,
what this looks like.
we were talking
Like,
about that.
yeah, I had mentioned loosely the whole game gives an aesthetic off like retro Epcot, but like there are pavilions there, like the land and World of Motion Horizons that just evoke such this art style that I want to try and recreate it in the game.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, just I don't know, like, there's so much you can do with the outpost building, just from what I can see. I I kind of just want to build a giant tower.
Well, and like so there's build limits, which is interesting.
Where does it say that?
At the bottom left. So
Oh
we have
yeah,
a build limit. The
that's fine.
top left we have requirements, and it doesn't look like it takes much for some of these things.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
like, just this base alone barely takes anything through the build limit, so I feel like there's going to be quite a bit you can do.
Right. There's variants, so you can see 1 out of 2, 2 out of 2. Structures is one of the like what is that 10 different things you can build. And then you have your stats in the bottom right here: cargo, crew, needed power, total power, production per minute.
Random question: do you think it's like you can build an outpost literally anywhere on the planet, or are there this like set locations you have to do it?
Probably
I
set locations.
I
Like
don't
it
know.
was
I feel
in.
like it could be anywhere.
You
Yeah.
think? Actually, now that I think about it, 76 was like that too. It was anywhere within reason. Like you couldn't make your base
Right.
inside of a town,
Right.
but it was anywhere.
And I think they mentioned too you can interior design it as well.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, interior design like is my passion.
But like that
Miss it.
that last like this just literally looks straight out of the ride Living with the Land at Epcot. It's crazy.
That's just the thing. Like, it feels like you can do anything with it. Like, it is very
Yeah.
much NASA punk, but also I feel like you can just try any style of sci-fi and it'll probably look somewhat good.
The crafting screen's interesting because it looks like we got what pharmacology, so health crafting, food and drink crafting, outpost development. That looks like maybe building materials, equipment, weaponry.
Okay, so something to notice here. This isn't a research in progress. This is screaming Metal Gear Solid 5. Like you gotta wait.
Yes, my favorite.
I
Oh,
don't know
dude,
how people are gonna
I'm
react
gonna.
to this. It's a very like you either love it or you hate it.
Oh,
Yeah,
dude,
Yeah, you
you
saw it
gotta
on that
wait.
screen. Yeah.
So certain items will take
yes,
a lot longer to
yes.
craft than others.
This is the greatest game.
And you can kind of see in
Yes.
the background too, like research materials, what you need for it. Yeah, interesting. Can't see a time.
I'm gonna be in menus half of this game. I'm just gonna
Oh
say that
yeah,
right
Receiver, internal optic. It's just standard
yeah.
attachments.
This is just like
now.
your
Nothing
I mean,
crazy.
an
weapon
expanded version.
customization.
an expanded version of what they did in Fallout 4 is great because like I love the weapon customization of Fallout 4. If just an expanded version of that would be awesome.
Yeah.
There's a lot in Fallout 4 that's really
Yeah,
good.
give me a silencer, a silenced pistol, like a silenced hand cannon is my go-to. Love that.
Even though that would not work in real life, and that's why video
It
games
makes
are
no
awesome.
sense. It's like silence
That's
with
why I
the
love
hand
it so much. Well, maybe not a hand cannon so much, just like a revolver, where it's like, give me 6 shots, they're all going to be headshots. That's fine.
Exactly, yeah. And just the shotgun, like the combat. We weren't really touching on this. The combat looks way better than it did last time.
Oh yeah,
And I
and like
do
even
honestly
like this scene blew me away the first time I saw it, where like you shoot the thing and it freezes them, and he falls
exactly.
over due to the force from the icicle. Like that is so
The
well
detail.
done.
I mean, do you guys believe that rumor that it kind of helped out with the combat?
Yeah.
Well,
And the
didn't they
combat
say
was
they?
greatly improved.
I thought they didn't improve, or it didn't help with the combat. They helped with other things.
Well, we
No,
were able to
they
see the
just said
difference from the combat.
all Bethesda studios helped out in some way. So maybe not
Right.
just it, but like maybe like Machine Games also helped out.
The Doom crew.
I remember
The Doom Crew
Todd
was out, did.
clarifying that, but look at that in a
But
second.
they're very much saying like this is an all hands on deck project for Bethesda
So
in general.
what are we doing here with like going back to the watch? Like, what are these triangles? Why is there yellow on the health bar?
I bet
It's good.
triangles
So
are way
going back to
useful.
the watch, it looks like those are resources.
Mm.
After like we seen on the planets, that's most likely what that
Yeah,
is.
maybe like you like set like I want to find this certain resource and they put it on the map.
Yep.
Okay. I can get down with that.
Ooh, it's close.
Oh, I love this bit talking about the gravity where um the
Depending
zero
on what level you
gravity
are.
part. Yeah, wow. He is not using a lot of boost to maintain altitude in those low grav areas. That's awesome. Yeah, this part. So
Yeah, I was about
cool.
to say, I love this detail.
It's very, very cool.
And again, it's these details that add so much to your experience overall.
Yep.
Yeah, I think most of the now they just go over combat and like how improved it is. I guess there's not really much else to go over. Brand new information wise. There's just
Right.
a big combat montage. It sold me because I'm like, yes, this is what I want. Give me combat. And then there was a
Oh yeah, this is yeah, we might as well watch this scene out because at the end it's that thing you were talking about. That's terrifying, by the way.
oh yeah, no,
That was
Having
so
3
fast.
robots so fast chasing your ass.
I mean, and that's a big thing. Yeah, how do you think the enemy variety is going to be in this game?
Yeah, that dude flew.
I think it'll be this scene. Like this
Yeah,
is definitely like your Fusro Da moment,
I was
and
about to say, yeah,
yeah,
this is like a extra like ability, not really like
right.
Forward.
your trait.
No, Todd, thank you.
So
Okay.
there's one. So they real quick they go over
Yeah.
favorite things with each developer. There's one thing in one of the developers I want captions on. I just want to talk about it for a second.
Okay.
I know
Just
exactly what he's
I
going
know
to
what you're
say.
talking about. I'll just
yeah,
forward to it.
I've been like talking about this like ever since we saw it. It's like they go over it really quickly.
So
A
that's
little bit
okay. Real quick though, this is what I'm talking about with the procedural stuff, because it seems like
that's
this is
procedural, which is insane to me.
yeah, but it's like okay, so that was stepped out on one side, and then a different person has that there. Like
I
that's
wonder how that would work out.
yeah, and maybe they clarified that more. That's the part that's breaking my brain. Okay, anyways.
Yeah, go for it. the procedural generation is definitely something we're gonna want to see more of as we like get closer to the game. Like I want to know how that works exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, like low gravity, all that there. You know exactly when to stop. You
I'm
know
waiting.
exactly what is this guy? Hang on, just I want to see his face. All right, I need to talk to this man directly.
Does he talk any more about it? No, he
no, just
doesn't.
go
He
back.
does.
Oh, he does?
No, he doesn't say.
No,
He doesn't
I
say
don't think
anything.
he does.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. So go back and just pause on that part. Hang on. What is he cooking? What is this man cooking? What is this ending? I guess just like real quick, all theories. I have a theory. Benji, what's your theory?
I mean, I'd imagine, given that there will be DLC for this game, I'd imagine the ending is actually your first contact with another like sentient alien race.
That'd
Okay,
be good.
my question is what ending? It's different.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
I'm gonna be real. I think it's a galactic war. I think it's just gonna be a massive conflict in space where it's just
Look at how happy
spaceships
he is.
flown over. He's so dude. This guy, I can't stop thinking about this man. He just says the ending like it's nothing. I can't stop thinking about the ending.
Well, speaking of ending, that's probably a good place to end it before we hit 2 hours, even going
Yeah,
an hour
Already
over
did.
again.
man. Let me tell you, Benji, you are a talker, and I love it.
Bro, it's
This
a
is
treat to have on
so
board.
much fun.
I do my best. It's a great outlet because sometimes friends, family, they just tune me out, and I get it because it is a lot. But it's just I don't know. I just always have something to say on, especially on something like this. But we do I almost had a list there. A Persona 3 deep dive. You'll get 5 minutes out of me, but something like this, and that's not a shot to Persona fans. I did like the game, but it's just not my thing, right? Whereas
No, I
this,
understand.
it is. There's still we could do another hour, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, like we're cutting it off because like we know we could go on for way longer, and I guess just in general, like I get, I'll ask you guys right now, like after this analysis, are you even more excited about Starfield?
It's probably the biggest game for me for the rest of the year. I'm
Easily,
looking forward to.
I
I
was
can't wait for
already
that.
sold on the level of detail before, and there are things I noticed in here the entire time while we were stopping, while we're looking at the button options, what they're calling out, the watch mini map, like just
That
all of
creepy alien in the
those.
beginning.
Yeah, what the fuck? All of those things, it just really sells me on just this is an RPG, like an RPG-esque RPG, where they're
Mhm.
really saying anything pretty much is possible. You just have to go and do it, and we will account for you trying to do said thing, and that's really all I want out of a game like this, because part of me is like, do I spend the time on the one character and map out everything, or do I beat the game, do some other stuff, and then start another playthrough and go a different direction, start another playthrough and go a different direction? It's like I am currently battling with myself how I want to attack that, and that is a great problem to have.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just in general, this Starfield presentation, I guess Bethesda, I was so adamant, was one of my favorite developers for so long, and then Fallout 76 happened. The less we talk about it, the better. But even after that, like I was still very gung ho about like I do love Bethesda Game Studios, but there you got those video essay YouTubers saying like Skyrim was never good, Fallout 3 was never good, all this stuff, and it's a weird thing where I'm almost convincing myself it's like were they even that good? But then playing Skyrim again, I'm playing through Oblivion for the first time, and I realize what magic Bethesda has in its choice. It's the ability to do whatever the hell you want, whenever you want. It's this incredible writing, these variables in storytelling, all all these options that they allow you, the player. I feel like no developer is even close to reaching. And like you obviously, I'm not saying like all Bethesda games are the only Western RPGs. There are a lot, but I think it's just that level of choice and also just scale. It's just the scale of their games along with that choice. There's a reason we only get one every like 7 or so years, like once per console generation. And looking at Starfield, this is why. And I mean, I'm out of my mind excited for this game, way more even after this analysis. Just those level of detail, that choice, those quests, everything. I think this could have a chance for Game of the Year if it lives up to my expectations.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, real quick. Yeah,
Okay.
where do you think early projections this will, like, okay, how about this? What is one thing you think will solidify it as either game of the year, top 3 of the year, however you want to define it, and what is one thing you think will be like, this actually is what killed it for me?
The RPG mechanics. I think it all goes down to that. I think they've sold me on like, combat, the like ships, and for the most part, they've pretty much sold me on the procedural generation. The idea is how expansive are we looking RPG wise? Like, am I able to like, because like that thing on romances, it's like romance is like the first thing that may, like for romances, it's like okay, that's a disappointing. But as we go on, like, how are we looking at like skill trees, traits? We saw that, but also like storytelling, like choices. How branching is this story? Like Dark was mentioning, like multiple endings. Like how expansive are we getting? I want to know. That could be the make or break for me. Like just the RPG aspects of this game.
Like, what about you?
I want to say the exploration. Yeah, it's so far everything that they've shown is amazing. But if the planets that feel barren, similar to like 76, where the game feels empty, it's just huge. It'll kill it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I honestly I echo both of y'all's opinions on that. I think both of those things will factor in heavily into what I think about it. So I guess just to offer something more like a third unique take, I would say yeah, and this is kind of more in the RPG realm where it's like, do my choices matter and how much do they matter? Do like what level of depth of side, like are we talking like CD Projekt Red side quests that are like almost better than the main mission itself, right? Like, are there am I going to play this game and a month in I hear about this cool side quest on Twitter that I need to go do, or someone found this on this planet that I need to go see? Like, I'm gonna find a lot of things on my own, and I'm going to enjoy the game regardless. But it's like, again, that level of detail. It's like, how far does it go? How much time am I gonna get sucked into it to where, like Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, the biggest compliment I can give that game is it makes 4 hours fly by. And if I can have that same kind of experience because I am so sucked into what they're doing and I want to do all these different things and I keep getting distracted because this other thing is now distracting me and it's super cool, and then I get back to the thing I'm doing, like that gameplay loop and that like just sheer feeling of like endless possibilities and wanting to do it all and see it all. That'll definitely be it for me.
Well, I guess
Yeah,
just real. Any final thoughts before we end up tonight?
game looks amazing.
I think this is the
Sean,
6th time I've watched this deep dive video, and I'm still just as
it's like
excited
eight.
as I did as I watched it the first time. And granted, some of those times people were talking over it, but um, yeah, I'm so ready for this game, and that's such a dangerous thing to say nowadays with game development.
Yeah, I was about to say
That's
because like
such a
a lot of
dangerous
people.
thing.
I
Um,
it, I guess like just real quick, like everyone is saying like this could be Cyberpunk. I feel like they're showing way more of this than Cyberpunk, like
oh, I
raw
agree.
gameplay footage. And I feel like this is like a way better showcase. Like again, as I was saying, Todd Howard straight up saying this is not in the game. This isn't in the game. This is in the game. this isn't as expansive as you think, like stuff like that. That's what's important versus CD Projekt Red. Like, yeah, it's baby in the game. Who knows? It's like, okay, thanks, guys.
And there's a lot of raw gameplay with UI,
Exactly.
with menus. Like it's not that kind of, and the going back to like the Xbox showcase where it's like, yeah, Fable was gameplay, but it wasn't the UI. It was a third person like
wasn't
dev
HUD.
build camera, right? So the fact that it like, and maybe I'll have to go back and look at old Cyberpunk, like the little dev updates they did before the game came out. But I feel like we are seeing so much more here of raw, unedited gameplay than we ever did in Cyberpunk. So I have no really my thing with my only like speculation or kind of cynicism is just, can they just bring it all together and honestly can it run, at a stable pace? But for me, the bar isn't as high as I feel like other people. Like, this isn't, yes, this does matter a lot to Xbox, but it's like, I don't know, for me, my standards are a lot lower to have a great time in this game.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Just run at a nice stable 30 FPS. Like that's all I need. If you're gonna run at 30 FPS on console, just run at 30 FPS. That's really all that matters to me. But if that's everything, I guess that's it. Thank you all so much for watching the first episode of Meal Prep. Please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. It really helps us. We're still up and coming. We really want to grow. And I mean, just the support of all you guys in the podcast, like for the community and whatnot, we really appreciate it. But yeah, I guess that's everything in relation to Starfield. I hope everyone watching is just as excited as I am, as excited as Benji and Dark are as well. And I catch you guys later.
Have a good one.
See you later.
Hit the like button.